Welcome again to Stephen Green and Stephen. Busy week on the farm, but we've grabbed hold of him. Stephen, we're going to go a bit deep because you and I have known for quite a few, even years. There's something behind big state. The newspapers don't seem to want to talk about it, nor the television, but we know about it. And I think a lot of the general public do. They're saying, who's making decisions about various acts of parliament, various ideas, novel ideas that are coming out in both parties? And somebody's christened it the Blob, which basically is a civil service division that sort of, it's yes minister on steroids, is what I'm trying to say. Now, Marxism is behind this clearly in a lot of cases. But you've been digging and come across an organization within the blob called Neon. Tell us about that.
Well, NEON stands for the New Economics Organization Network. It's an offshoot of the New Economics Foundation, which has some rather peculiar ideas. I just want to just correct one little thing. The Blob is not just the civil service. When you look into things like the General Medical Council, you find there are 12 members of it, 6 doctors and 6 non-doctors. Who elects them? Well, nobody. They're all appointed by the Privy Council. The Privy Council is 650 or 700 or something, right honourable, so they can't appoint. So they have a committee. And the kind of people who get onto the General Medical Council, the kind of people who become directors of NHS trusts, let alone NHS England, the kind of people who become directors of, I don't know, Natural Resource England, for instance, or some water board. These are people whose faces fit in the corridors of power. So you'll find Professor this, that, and the other. You'll find Dame so and so, so somebody or other. And there, or there will be, I don't know, directors of some subcommittee of the British, Medical Association. But it's an extraordinary collection of people who all seem to share the same sort of views. And with the New Economics Foundation, it's absolutely no different. And they certainly believe in a big state, and I'm sure we should come on to that.
Stephen, I know what you're saying, and we've discovered, and other people as well, about the judiciary. And people think, oh, these bizarre decisions taken by a particular judge, oh, it's just a one off, he's a bit of a rebel. Well, I'll tell you what, there are 30% of the judiciary, it is alleged, that are the same sort of lefty leaning progressive. So they're part of the blob as well.
Well, of course, and they too are appointed by the Lord Chancellor, I mean, but when we're appointed by, people to these people, like they talk to each other in their clubs or in the places where they meet, and if somebody is, oh, he'll do a good job, and they, so the thing is, it's a self-perpetuating oligarchy which ordinary people have no idea at all. I think Benjamin Disraeli referred to it in his book Coningsby way back. He was Prime Minister under Queen Victoria, and he said that the people who run things are quite different from those who are imagined by those who are not behind the scenes. So when you are behind the scenes, you find all sorts of peculiar things happening. And my interest in this particular subject was piqued by an article on Daily Skeptic, which is one of my news sources, and it's from researcher Charlotte Gill. Now she, like me, follows the money, and so when you find, but she wants to know how much public money is being poured into things, and how the taxpayer is funding things, and we're going to come to that as well. But I'm interested in the interplay between foundations, charitable foundations, philanthropic foundations, which they might support climate hysteria 1 minute, net zero, then they might support a homosexual group the next minute. You find them now supporting new economics, and so they're all tied in together. And I'm sure you're going to want to know who they are, and you will want to know what new economics is as well.
Well, it used to be the landed gentry, indeed, when centuries ago, even less than centuries ago, that were behind the scenes and pulling the old strings. It's widened its cause, and you've got the usual suspects, of course, in LGBT, the World Economic Forum, the Greens, who are really entrenched in this lot. It's a bit of a mafia, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, back in the day, the kind of people who, like the big industrialists, people like Henry Tate of the sugar fame, that their philanthropy extended to sort of building a library so that people could become educated. That was their idea of philanthropy. Today, the idea of philanthropy is advancing the cause of homosexuality and transgenderism around the globe. It's a completely different mindset from what we used to from what used to happen. Like even just 100, maybe even just 60 years ago. I think it was in the 1960s when these foundations, like the Ford Foundation, started to go. Carnegie started to go, as we would call it today, woke, and there seems to be I mean, they all kind of like you can tap any one of them and you'll find that they will be pro-gay, they'll be pro-trans, despite the Supreme Court ruling, they'll be pro-trans. There was even a member of Parliament, Sarah Owen. She's the chairman of a committee which the Equalities chairman, Baroness Faulkner, appeared before the other week, and she was shutting Baroness Faulkner down when she was trying to say that that men cannot be women, and so the MP was shutting it down. So that's still alive and working. So there's the gay thing, the trans thing, the climate change lobby, environmentalism, except where it conflicts with net zero. Then net zero trumps it. Abortion comes into it as well. You'll find that they will all be also they'll be pro Hamas and anti Israel. These views run like a seam through all of them. It really is quite peculiar, and of course they all believe in the big state as well, because ordinary people like you and me cannot be trusted to make the right sort of decisions about where to spend our money.
They don't half come up very quickly with fascist extreme right. Newspapers, mainstream media, everything is thrown against the so-called right, whoever they may be. Farage is accused of this liberally, of course, if that's the right phrase to use. Having said that, the word gaslighting springs to mind, especially with what is happening at the moment. They're convincing everybody. I'll give you an example. This last Thursday on Question Time, a minister of the realm from Her Majesty's government clearly states that the majority of people coming over in their rubber boats are children and women. And he won't back down to date. I mean, yes, exactly. Everybody was saying what? And of course, don't forget the BBC picked their audience for Question Time. Even they were aghast.
Was it Mark Twain said that a lie can be halfway around the world before truth gets its boots on? But that is bizarre. They think they can get away with that sort of thing with sheer lying. I mean, I found the faculty for reproductive health. I'm surprised they didn't stick rights on the end of it as well, to make it to sexual and reproductive health and rights. See, our old friend not our old friend, Demon SRHR, springs out of the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, which is little more than the abortionists' trade union these days. They're campaigning for decriminalisation of abortion. That lot. This faculty of reproductive health they state that there is a human right to abortion. Now you can look through all of the human rights instruments you want, Rodney. From the Declaration of Human Rights of 1948 to the European Convention on Human Rights, you will not find any mention of a right to kill preborn children in the womb. It does not exist, and yet these people maintain that it is a right. it isn't. You're lying. So but they are perfectly happy to come out with barefaced lies.
Yes, you've used the word lie. Now, that is not used. You look down upon if you use the word lie. You can use obfuscation, you can use any other of the phrases that go on. What it really means, they are telling porcupines big time.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to accuse anybody of lying in the House of Commons. The honourable gentleman is mistaken. Is what you is that's the closest you can get to it, or or the honourable lady has misinformed herself.
Mm.
No, you spoke earlier about fascism, Rodney, and we all get people get accused of being um, far right. There's a comedian who done I forget his name now, but he's done a little video with a song uh, which goes, "We're all far right now." Anybody who complains about the establishment is far right, and of course we're fascist. But the joke is that fascism, by definition, is where it's not like communism, where they take all your money and appropriate it to the state. In fascism, they still let you have your stuff, but they tell you what to do with it. It becomes a partnership. They put it a partnership between the state and industry. And where have you heard that? You've heard that from the World Economic Forum. So that is fascism. That's the definition of fascism, where the state dragoons business to do its will, and you cannot then in the end tell one from the other. So that's fascism. And it really it is state control. That's true. So if you stand up for small government, for ordinary people having the responsibility of making their own decisions, then you're accused of all sorts of things. But fascism is one thing you cannot be accused of.
Great deal of discontent in the UK. It's obvious from what's happening in Northern Ireland, but that is a complicated situation. But really, it's telling a lot of truth.
Yes, what struck me about this was that, I mean, this whole thing started when two Romanian boys who needed an interpreter in court, so they cannot speak English, were accused of sexual assault against a young woman, and that's when the uh, riots and stuff started in Ballymena in Northern Ireland, and I saw uh, the chief constable of Northern Ireland saying that these riots are absolutely despicable and disgraceful and should not be happening. As if the sexual assault of a young girl is perfectly okay,
Yeah.
and it's just the riots that are wrong. Really, our elite don't seem to be clued up that their job is to protect and defend the population uh, from crime and wickedness, and not to protect the elite from criticism, which is what they're doing at the moment. I was interested to see that the Prevent NGO, Quango, whatever it's called, has now said that people expressing opinions contrary to migration have to be regarded as extremists who should be referred to Prevent. Now, Christian Voice has been expressing misgivings to mainly Muslim immigration for decades now. So I think it's getting a bit late today here in the UK, but I think Monday morning I'd better refer myself to Prevent before anybody else jumps the gun on that one.
Indeed. Talking about gaslighting, there's never been an occasion of gaslighting like the Pakistani gang groomers. Again, in the headlines today, you've got a picture of those guilty ones. Everyone is a Pakistani man. But the papers don't say that. We'll say anything but that. We don't want to cause upset in the community. Well, certainly the socialist side of our politics doesn't, because that's where they get an awful lot of votes from. They didn't last time because the community, Asian community, voted against them. Who knows? But they'll do anything for votes, won't they?
Yeah, the Muslim lot voted against them. And their multicultural dream is crashing before their eyes, but they're still intent on defending it. And of course, it was always an anti-Christian ideal because they cannot stand the Christian constitution of our United Kingdom and the fact that constitutionally in this country, Jesus Christ is King of Kings. He is king over King Charles. Oh, by the way, Rodney, easy mistake to make, but they are His Majesty's ministers these days, since unfortunate event in September 2022, when Her Majesty became deceased. So they're now His Majesty's ministers. It takes a little bit of time to realise that you now refer to what you used to refer to as KCs. That's Queen's Counsel. As King's Counsel now. They are these top
Casey, yeah.
barristers. Yes, and of course, it's God Save the King now that we sing. We became so used to to referring to God Save the Queen because she was on the throne for a long time. But no, it's under new management now, and it's a strange management where where the King seems to be His Majesty seems to be sold out to every environmentalist fad going. But that's he acts on the advice of his ministers. So let me tell you about this because it campaigns, and it's an offshoot. It started with the new economics forum that they gave birth, their words, to it, and it has people like the Neon has people like Miata Farnboulet, who's she? She's Labour's minister for, or should that be against, energy consumers, and so she's one of the people who's been through the Neon training network, and it's aiming. It now has something like 1,000 young people who have been through its training programs, and they are building up a network of these people who they are obviously grooming them to be the next version of the elite, the next generation of the blob, if you like. But it has an anti-growth, anti-Christian, anti-market vision of state control. This is what they say about the markets. It's curious. I mean, they're absolutely convinced that net zero is good for the environment, despite it destroying the actual environment in places like the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zimbabwe, where they're mining for cobalt and lithium, respectively, and destroying communities as well as the environment. So that doesn't matter. They're cutting down prime forests in I think in Canada and Virginia, United States, to provide the pellets for the polluting Drax power station in Yorkshire. It's madness. So again, they're telling what you might charitably refer to as mistaken ideas. But the crazy thing is that they want a democratic economy. Now, you're like, what does that mean? They want to devolve state power and transform ownership of the economy to give us all an equal stake in the places where we live and work. Now, I don't quite sure what that means, but I think it means state control because I don't know what they think the economy is, but it's not a mystery. It's inherently democratic. It's people buying and selling stuff to each other, goods and services. That's what it does. So the landowner. Do you remember the landowner in the Lord's parable, where the guys come to work in the fields? He says in our Lord's parable, "Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with my own?" Well, no, not in Britain. If you're selling motor vehicles, it isn't. You must only sell a proportion of those as internal combustion engines. You have to have a quota of electric vehicles, electric cars, even though the customer base is not there to support the demand for them. So the market is people freely and buying stuff, and they think that it's been manipulated in the last 40 years. Well, if it has, it's been manipulated by government. If they would only keep their fingers out of the market, then the market could do what it's designed to do. So this is a state control idea. Our Lord is in favour of honest, open markets, and he bases a lot of his parables on buying and selling. He even says that back in the days of Lot in Sodom and Gomorrah, people were buying and selling. They bought and they sold. So the market has been going for a lot longer than Miata Farbule MP has been on this, for me and you for that matter, been on this earth. It's been going for centuries, for generations, for millennia. And it's surprising because Miata, she has, I think it's Liberian father, mother's from Sierra Leone. They came here as family came here as refugees when she was little because of the fighting in Liberia. But the woman is now she was the chief executive of the New Economics Foundation, and now she's in with the group that it has spawned, the New Economics Organization Network. So she may well have come as a refugee, but she is now an insider's insider. She is one of the elite. Make no mistake about that. And this thing about redesigning the market so that it works according to what the government think it ought to do is it is exactly what the elite want to do. And you'll remember from the book of Revelation, chapter 13 and verse 17, that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So state control of buying and selling is all part of the World Economic Forum Green New Deal plan. The Bible idea of a righteous economic system is the Micah's millennial vision. Isaiah has it as well, but Micah has it beautifully. They shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree. It's a small family-based capitalism, see, under his vine and his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. But when you look around things like the new Green New Deal, where you will own nothing and be happy, you might be forgiven for being a little bit afraid of that, until you realise, of course, that the Lord, he that sitteth in the heavens, shall laugh at them. But that's going to need a lot of prayer to counter them. But we're doing our best by uh, exposing them. And the funders are astonishing. That George Soros's Open Society Foundations is lavishly funding them, and also funds pro-homosexual groups in the developing world. The Oak Foundation funds Neon, as well as the pro-gay, pro-trans Astria Lesbian Foundation in New York, Human Dignity Trust, and Outright Action. They support countless initiatives to legalize sodomy in the developing world against the wishes of the people. Here's a funny one. William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. They supported Neon, and they gave $1.5 million recently to International Planned Parenthood, the world's leading abortionist. So these are the kind of people who I said that the same mindset flows through all of them, and you find that the funders are funding the new economics, they're also funding climate fanaticism, and are also funding groups promoting sexual depravity and groups promoting abortion. So it's like a death wish amongst our elites and amongst the foundations, and they're intent on imposing it on the rest of us, and also on spreading it through the developing world. The things like there's going to be an amendment being put before the House of Commons in a week or so's time to decriminalise abortion in the United Kingdom. Well, in England and Wales, but it's already decriminalised in Northern Ireland. So that would really put the nail in the final nail in the coffin of human life. Taken with the attempt to bring in an assisted euthanasia bill, it's all part of the same parcel. And as I said, the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists are in favour of decriminalisation. Not so long ago, Rodney, the scare was all about backstreet abortions. These days, they're campaigning for it. Pills by post, nothing more than backstreet abortions. So, there's a whole package of ideas which the elite all share. And as Disraeli said, that the country is being run by people, who ordinary people have no idea are doing it, and they're building up the next generation. These folk have of people who are going to be part of the blob. As I say, if you did not have faith in the Lord, who will bring what they are doing to nothing and laugh at them, then it could be scary. It certainly needs prayer, because this has to end.
We seem to have turned ourselves into a pro-death society with everything that's happened. And I don't see the uh, common sense in all this. I mean, it's eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. It's in many senses, although people will say, no, it's not a young people's society. It is in that sense that, it's time to make merry, not think in the future you'll never arrive at pension age, but you will. And it's, well, it's like dear old EastEnders, I suppose. You've got an average take of about 8 seconds on there. People want instantaneous gratification, even instantaneous clips when they switch from one story to another. There's not many that last longer than 8 seconds. But this is the society we're in, and people will blame social media. Where's my iPhone? I can't be without it. Um, it's a strange world. We can't blame everything on social media because social media only works because we use it. But it brings the worst side out of human nature quite often. Oh, I can say that, they'll never know who I am. Yes, they will.
Hmm. I'm not sure about social media. I mean, we people today are distrustful of mainstream media. A lot of surveys show this. They're distrustful of the mainstream media, and a lot of people are getting their news now, finding their news on social media, both in the written word and in video, which is why we're doing a lot of video reporting these days. I keep saying there are two kinds of people in the world. There are those who get their information from articles, and those who get their information from videos. If I want to cook a recipe, and sometimes I do, I'll go to the where I print off a couple of recipes, spread them out, and take the best out of them. If my wife Judy wants to make something, she'll look for a recipe on YouTube. So different people are getting their information from different ways. And you spoke about young people, 24-year-olds today. They are never going to come to a time when the state will be able to afford to pay them a pension. It isn't going to. In 40 years' time, it will not be there. The state is struggling now to pay to pay pensions. And as for the public sector pensions, which are gold plated, it's an absurdity. And we're living on borrowed time, and people think that they paid into the system. No, you haven't. All you've done is a pay as you go system. So today's generation are paying the pensions of those who have retired now. You're not putting into a pension pot. It's not like like the commercial things. It's very much pay as you go, and there will not be enough money there, and there isn't enough money now really to pay for the health service.
It's because, of course, a lot of the schemes, whether they be government, usually are, or private, are not funded. It'll go away. It will never happen. And I repeat, yes, it will. It will come. You can still fund yourself and pay for your pension yourself, and you will find you get far better value than paying in a pension fund run by any government. One reason, of course, Stephen, is we've mentioned the Greens. They required many funds to put that much investment in green issues, which is a tragedy because they don't yield anything. In fact, they go into miners' territory quite often. But there again, you've got the blob controlling us by a backdoor method. So we've got to be aware of this. The other thing that we've got to be aware of is fact checking. Now, it's easy to say use a fact checker, but check the fact checker because a lot of them are not independent and it's difficult.
Yeah. The funniest one, of course, is BBC Verify, which simply puts out the establishment's point of view. I mean, what I travelled back from London. I was addressing a service, giving a teaching on Wednesday evening at a church. I'm open for doing that, guys. And so I stayed overnight in Romford, And I came back by train yesterday morning. And as I was on the train yesterday morning through yesterday lunchtime, the story about the terrible air crash in India was breaking, and I was praying that the aircraft would have come down in one piece, and of course saw that it hadn't, and only one man miraculously walked away from it, and that. But if, on the I mean on the BBC, they had BBC Verify coming up to tell people what we kind of like knew about the crash. I mean, that's just the job of ordinary reporters. BBC, they're having to find jobs, in other words, for BBC Verify to do in the midst of the most appalling tragedy. That they had to have BBC Verify sticking its silly oar in. It was really rather
Mm.
tragic.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, in day and age as we're in, Stephen, it's never have words been so true that you've got to be as wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove as a Christian.
You have, and also I think people need to inform themselves about what the scriptures say. I mean, we're doing our little bit by bringing the Bible to bear on the issues of our day, and I've spoken about economics there, and a lot of people think that biblical economics means that that the state should be sharing out largesse and doing doing charity. And the Bible's quite clear. It's a that's a personal thing to do. The state needs to just sort of butt out because it will never do it efficiently. Now, not many people know, but this is true that in 1913, the government was taking something like 8% of GDP in taxation. And today it's 50, I don't know what figure, but it's around 50%. So and everything seemed to function well in the society in 1950. Obviously, the local authority was not mandated to do all the crazy stuff that they have to do today. And in the 1960s, of course, the average family man earning a family wage was not in the tax system at all. So the state has grown so big, and we now have this idea that the state has to look after us. Well, I remember being at a conference once when Win Lewis, the late Win Lewis of Elim, gave a talk about people asking the pastor to pray for them. He said, "You have the access to the Holy Spirit as well." He said, "Pray for yourselves." So that there are things that we can and should be doing ourselves, and not expecting the state to do it all. It's going to need a big mind shift, and it's going to need the blob brought under control. It's going to need a change of government, clearly, from people who do not regard the state as a be all and end all. I'm not poking finger at any particular political party. It's in all of them, and it's very difficult. One thing they need to do, Bonnie, is to repent and honor the King of Kings, and remember they are just men, and that they need wisdom which comes from on high. And the Bible says, before honor is humility. And today, we all think that our ministers of state, let alone secretaries of state, must be supremely intelligent people, but they're not. They're stupid because they've left off to take heed to the Lord. That's why they believe that a man can be a woman. That's why they believe that you can run everything electric without putting in the infrastructure or building the power stations. They are stupid, and they need to repent because wisdom comes from on high. And if wisdom comes from on high, where does stupidity come from? I leave you with that thought.
Well, thank you, Stephen. Very interesting. Lots to talk about there. We'll see you very shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodney, for the opportunity. Bless you, love.